Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. The new document put out by the Economic Advisory Council of the Prime Minister, and it is titled Share of Religious Minorities Across Country Analysis between the period 1950 to 2015, authored by Shamika Ravi, Abraham Jose and Apoorv Kumar Mishra. This document is not only limited to India, but to the entire world, as they have done a fantastic discussion of how the majority population in each country and vis-a-vis its own minorities, how the balance has been changing over a period of 65 years. What's of particular concern is the Indian region, which is consisting of countries like Pakistan, India, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Myanmar, all the neighboring countries, all of which used to be a single entity up until 1947, how their internal majorities have weighed against their own minorities. Shocking reading, and it requires the gravitas of an ex-IIM Bangalore professor, Sree Ramesh, to talk to us a little bit about what it tells us. And this whole BS that is being dealt out, that Islam is in danger, it gets completely dismantled here. But that's not the only thing. There are lots of other factors. We are going to listen to all these things from the good professor. So let's welcome Professor G. Ramesh. Ramesh sir, namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskaram, namaskaram. Thank you. It's a very, very important topic, I would say. Sadly, it's getting sidetracked by, oh, this is election time. Should it have been done now or something? Forget the election time. It's important at any point of time for India. This report. Yeah.
So, sir, I would like to draw your attention. This is a 60-odd page document, viewers. As I was going through this, my eyes just, jumped out at some of the data that is coming from the Indian subcontinent. This area is actually as big as Europe, if not bigger, because there's so many different things involved. What used to be a fairly, thriving civilization with multiple, pluralistic civilization has basically, because of divide and rule and, constant external influences, has gotten to this point. But there are lots of other things that are takeaway. Professor Ramesh, I leave you to direct us to which page you would like us to take us to, and then we can talk about it. I mean, it's completely, mind-boggling is all I can say. Viewers, please like this video, and you may not have time to read 67 pages. What we have done is extracted the summary, and it's a very well-researched document. It has got no bias. It is looking at the entire world. It's just that we are concentrating on the Indian subcontinent region. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Sree Iyer. I think it's a very, very important topic, as I said. What I'll do is first I'll give overview of the report.
Yeah.
And then, like what's happening globally also. Globally also, it's stunning. In fact, I call the whole report as stunning. I was not surprised at this or that, but I'm really stunned by what's really happening. We know something is happening in the population trends and all that. And I don't know how all the demographers missed the trend. And suddenly when this is put out, and it's really surprising all. Now, one important point I should make, this is by a person who is economic advisor to the Prime Minister's advisory council. So it's very important, and we should all take it seriously. And it's a global report. Okay. Imagine if it had been something negative about India, all the people would have been right from Washington Post, everybody would have been jumping at it. But nobody is talking about accepting that, saying that it's an election time. They are only talking about the timing of the report, not the content of the report, incidentally. Okay. Now, what she is saying is that the report is saying is that globally, okay, globally, if you see the share of the majority, the study is very focused, it's very bold. If you look at the analysis, very methodical, okay, it's very bold but very mild in conclusion, obviously, because, maybe bordering on semi-official, you can say. So probably they are very cautious, and they didn't go that far to analyze the causes also. In fact, the report clearly says we are not speaking about the cause of the fall in the share of majority population. Okay. Now this is a global study. It's a global trend. If you want, we can use the word secular trend. Okay, the secular trend globally. Okay, what she is saying is that global share of the majority Okay, for example, if in, let's say, 1950, this period covers 1950 to 2015, which is about 65 years. Okay, in that 65 years, if the share of the majority, let's say in Britain, had been, let's say, 90%, now it is about 69%. Okay, it has fallen by 28.97%. I mean, let's say almost 71%. Okay, so imagine this, really a major chunk, isn't it? I mean, and in many cases, you saw, I mean, politically, if you see, it's significant because it can also swing the coalition politics. That's again another important factor that we should really keep it in mind. And you saw the recent election or results in UK also. Okay, how many of the municipalities, the minorities have managed to win, triumphantly, and I mean very in a very significant way they have won. So first point globally is that even in a Christian majority like OECD countries, she talks about, okay, even in OECD countries, barring Turkey and Japan, which is outside, which is non European country, even there the share of the Christian majority has fallen down, significantly. Okay, and another area she takes, what about the countries above 2 million, 20 million and all that, 20 million, sorry. Okay, like because our own India is vast, so can you compare a tiny country with a large country? All those logic can be there. On the other hand, Africa got swamped by, probably Christianity and Muslim, both of them, and they also lost their own, their religion of the land. Okay, it's again, they also lost them, they became minority in their own land. Okay, so globally, what we have to understand is the share of the majority fell by 21.9%, and for the OECD countries alone, it fell down by 28.97%. That is why you are seeing a lot of dramas happening in the European countries. What you're seeing now. Let's come to the India, okay, which is our really area of interest.
Focus.
I mean, it says at the outset, it says that India's share of the Hindu majority has come down by 7.81%. Okay, which means if it was 84% at the point of, at the time of the independence, it's around maybe 77%. Like now, maybe you can put the map so that I can really, show what does it mean. Yeah, same thing. Okay, now I think the what are the percentages? Can you just little bit blow it?
Zoom in, please.
Zoom in. Yeah. So if you see, in fact, this is the contrast. Okay, in India, green means is less than 10%. Okay, which means we saw it's about 7.81%. That is the share of the majority population has come down by 7.8%, as good as 8%, let's say. Incidentally, Sree, this is up to 2015. Another 10 years has passed, almost 9 years has passed. Okay, and so you can imagine now how much I don't know. And on the other hand, Pakistan, it says 3.7%, but in the report it says that overall total Muslims, if you take, it is 10% increase in the majority. So what is the conclusion? We lost about 8%, vote share. Vote share, people know it like that, population share. Okay, and Pakistan gained about 10%. The majority population gained about 10%, and in Bangladesh it's about 18.55%. Okay, that's a sort of change that has happened between 1950 and 2015. Okay, now I'll give you something. When India got independence, okay, our population was about 36 crore. Okay, and current in 2015 it was about 130 crore, let's say 132 crore or something like that. Okay, now at that point the Muslim population was 9.8% in India. Okay, whereas now it is 14%. Okay, so at that point the population was about 3.6 crore or something like that in India, Muslim population. Now it is 18.95%. Now it could be 20 plus crore also. Okay, Muslim population in India. That's nothing, because the Hindu population also grew. Total India population also grew from 36 crore to 132 crore, which we almost added 100 crore, let's say. Okay, and Muslims added about more than 15 crore, over and about the 3.6 crore. But the point is what this report says, okay, which is what is important, is that in the secular trend, of course, I mean, we are sort of budged. The secular trend is about 21.9%, the majority of share. We lost about 8%. Okay, if you really look at it. But one thing you should understand, Sree, okay, in the context of India's population, when you're talking of 100 plus crore, 130 crore, 140 crore like that, losing even 1% for me is like moving in Richter scale of earthquake from 6.5 to 7.5. I hope you understand the magnitude of the, what can happen from 6.5 to 7.5 Richter scale. Okay. For example, you understand what is the meaning of a double-digit GDP growth, isn't it?
Yes.
This is something like that. Okay. Double-digit inflation, when you understand, double-digit GDP, understand. The market solid share of the population also people should understand like that. Okay. But there conclude, and then similarly Bangladesh, if you see, Bangladesh population was 3.9 crore. I need to verify, but I did really multiple checks across sources and like that. Okay. Because at that point it was one in Pakistan, West Pakistan, East Pakistan, how it was divided and things like that, population. Okay. In fact, that time, I think Bangladesh and Pakistan state equally divided on the population. I mean, that surprises me. I thought Pakistan will be more. Okay. And our share was 90 lakhs. And today it's something like 1.2 crore Hindu share. And in Pakistan, it has, in absolute number, it has come down, I think. Okay, can you imagine?
Yes.
Absolute number I'm talking. Okay. Which, I mean, somebody should ask this question. So either our government should ask, UN should ask. You've got a congressional hearings on religious freedoms. Okay, there is a UN committee also on religious freedoms and like that. How come nobody is asking this? I'm surprised. I mean, even independent of this report also, this report doesn't cover this. This is something I'm pulling out. Okay, but this is what the report, the focus is on the religious, share of the religious majority and like that. How can in any country, I mean, in the 65-year time span, the population remains stagnant in absolute term, I'm telling, not in the share. Okay. In share, it has fallen from 13% to 2%. Okay. Many of them got converted. What about the balance? Okay. And then what about the religious freedom then? If they are forced to convert, then what about the religious freedom? And what about the Liaquat agreement? What's the sanctity of the Liaquat agreement that we had? Okay. Similarly, Bangladesh also, in fact, one can contrast Bangladesh growth and then India's growth. Of course, Bangladesh later has stemmed its population growth. Okay. In fact, it's also because probably a lot of migration happened to India. That could also help Pakistan, little bit control its population.
I think Bangladesh. I think you meant Bangladesh.
Bangladesh only. I mean Bangladesh. Okay. And I'm talking Bangladesh now. In Bangladesh also, population, it has been able to stem the population growth. But I mean, that could be also because some migration out of Bangladesh into India and their own economic development. I mean, their economic development could also contribute to their less population. But the point is, even there, the share of Hindus have fallen from 23% to 8%. Okay, 15% it has come down. Okay, which means the absolute number has just marginally increased. Okay. So these are all very striking. I mean, I think one needs to go deeper. In fact, decade by decade, one should cover. For example, I'll be keen to know post 1917 what happened with Bangladesh. Okay, as the population, Hindu population kept same, or it came down, or even after that also it has been declining drastically and things like that. Okay.
Thank you, sir. See, what happened in Bangladesh is that right from 1970, 71 was a very, very bloody year. Between the occupying force, that was Pakistan, and also what followed, they had some help inside also. There were some religious parties. They finished off the intellectuals first. They went into Dhaka University, systematically killed the entire intelligentsia that used to exist in Bangladesh. This was not only Hindus but also Muslims. Then they went about, systematically looking at every street where you had businesses like small shops. Those days there was no internet, no Amazon. It was all small shops that did the thing, and they knew most of these were Hindu run. So Bangladesh, they systematically went about. In fact, I'm even hearing horror stories. If you have to read Mr. Mascarena's report, he was a Pakistani Christian who had to actually move his family and himself to United Kingdom before he could dare publish his story on what was happening, the genocide that took place in Bangladesh. It's horrific how they were identified and killed, how the women were taken.
That is by the West Pakistan people, no, you are saying, before
West
Bangladesh.
Yeah, West Pakistan. What ended up, now is Pakistan, that West Pakistan area, how it has happened. Yeah. And this was also, they had collusion with the locals also. So we can't say that the entire thing was only by the West Pakistani occupying force. There was internal collusion as well. What is, striking there is, I think, sir, many came to India with just their clothes, not just Hindus, but also fair amount of Muslims also came. But none of them have gone back. And the other thing I know, because I've been following what is happening inside Bangladesh, every time there is Durga Puja, that's when they start attacking you. Because they think that Hindus come out in force at that point of time, that's when they attack. And unfortunately or fortunately, the remaining 8% of Hindus that are in Bangladesh, they are spread almost completely across the country. In other words, you can't create some sort of enclave where people can be, guaranteed some security. This is going to be a difficult problem, because I don't see much of a difference between one party versus the other party in Bangladesh. People forget that Mujibur Rahman was the mentee of Suhrawardi, who was the one who caused the 1946 direct action. And Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is suddenly becoming the founder of Bangladesh, but leopard just dropped all its spots or what? So the people have to understand these things. Politically, somehow naivety is too much in my opinion.
Incidentally, if we have a friendly party in government in Bangladesh, we are not able to speak also. Okay.
Yes. If
it is at least unfriendly party, we can our government would have been more outspoken about the government. Okay.
So whatever it is that is happening there, I still feel that the security for Hindus is nowhere close to what it should be. And you are tearing the fabric. Not only that, Bangladesh is actually benefiting from many Indian industrialists going and setting up shops in Bangladesh, because they figured out that it might be cheaper for them to manufacture goods in Bangladesh as opposed to, say, doing it in Tirupur or someplace like that, because the access to immediate labor is much better there.
Garment is the biggest example.
Garment, exactly. So it's up to you. Your growth is coming at the expense of a minority whom you are choosing to attack.
So
go ahead, sir.
Yeah, coming to the report, it actually says it attributes no cost. It specifically says that it attributes no cost. But one simple observation it makes is that, unless the atmosphere is conducive for the minorities to grow in share, not in just absolute number or population, in share, this growth could not have happened, or this secular decline in majority share globally could not have happened. So there is good protection to the minorities, and they are also given, a lot of support. Otherwise, they could not have been thriving. In fact, in the political science and economics, political economy, we say that wherever there is a coalition politics, that is more democratic, in the sense that that's more representative of the different, I can say, groups of the population. But increasingly, what's happening is that that's really becoming more appeasing, rather than really representing people for their betterment. So in fact, the report said that report seeks to only presenting the fact, that this is happening, and it also makes a mild conclusion saying that this could not have happened if there is no positive support for minorities in all the nations, in India. But what is contrasting is the subcontinent. If that is the case, how is it that the majority in Bangladesh and Pakistan has grown so significantly? Without any, they have not made this point, but I am making this point. Without a positive discrimination against the minorities. There is a positive discrimination against the minorities, and I think our government should take it to UN and what are other religious forums that exist globally, and then keep on making this slogan. And I'm sure now even the OECD countries will join us, because they are also impacted, as this report says, or like that. Now let me briefly touch up, unless you want to say one point, briefly touch upon our population policy prior to emergency and post emergency. and where the minority population has really failed, okay, to control. I mean, incidentally, neither the report nor we are saying that this is good or bad. No, I'm not saying that share is good or bad. I mean, no, that's not at all anybody's contention. Okay, though I mean, I was stunned when I see the report that if I looked at the fall of the share, I thought it can be 1 or 2% globally, over trend like that. But 8% is really a lot, okay, for a majority to fall in share. But that's again an observation. It's not, we are not, saying that this is good or bad. We are not characterizing it, but we would like to say that what happened was that before, unless you want to qualify something, Sree.
Professor Ramesh, I think I'm more inclined to look at the data and tell you what is happening on the ground, because see, unlike you are an academic, you are looking at the report, and you are being very, very sanitized in terms of your observations. I, on the other hand, I'm looking at what is happening on the ground. See the amount of especially from Pakistan and in Bangladesh, it really, and to a lesser extent now, it has started in Sri Lanka. I guarantee you the next country is going to be Malaysia. Unfortunately or fortunately, some of the radicals have now taken up that as their home. Why I'm saying all these things is because when in the name of saying that your religion is danger, you are actually growing like rabbits. I'm not mincing any words, sir. The thing is, how long will the majority be blind to these facts? At least now you open up your eyes. 𝗣𝚑 IIR is a useless body, in my opinion. It uses my taxpayer money and wastes my money and spews venom wrongly. I mean, they could have easily commissioned something like this, because it's also talking about their own country too. It's not just one other country halfway across the world. So this is just my opinion. This is one of those cases where the guest is a little bit less opinionated than the host. That's okay. We are taking some role reversal here.
No, see, as far as I would say Pakistan, Bangladesh, incidentally, even in Sri Lanka, the share of majority has increased. Okay.
Yes.
Which is that Buddhist Sri Lankan or somebody. Okay. No, Pakistan and Bangladesh, there's a very positive discrimination. Every time I see a Hindu girl abducted or raped or married off forcefully, my BP goes up like anything, Sree. And then I tweet strongly, copy the MEA minister and all that, but nothing happens. Okay. And it boils me. Sometimes I say, please get her back. Please get her to India. That's what I tell them many times. Okay. But here what I'm saying is that I would like to tell the minority people that problem is that until 1975, okay, our family plan, it was a thrust was on family planning. Most of the things, population control, if you see, the government was progressive. In fact, southern state did well, especially Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and later even Andhra and all that. Okay, that's why the decline started before rest of India, the southern states. Okay, the emergency excesses, on the family planning, that really put it back on the family planning. And till 1991 reform, it was all totally fluid. Nobody even wanted to talk about that. But even post-reform period, okay, maybe 1995 onwards, 2000 onwards, thanks to the development, I think the population started coming down. I think that people always used to say development is the best contraceptive, okay. And that probably benefited, the Hindus took advantage of that, and then their population control, and then now you see the decline. But I would say that the Muslims could not, because I would only blame neither Congress, neither UPA, nor NDA, nor BJP ever discriminated against the minorities. Okay, and they always been given separate funds and things like that. I would blame the Muslim leadership for not taking the development to the minority population, and also the minority population, and take access to the development. In fact, I would see a trend post 2014 after Modi's government, because he has been really going aggressively on even improving some of the laws pertaining to minorities and like that. And I'm sure that will start showing its impact on the population also in the decades to come. Okay. So I would say that the development has to reach, and I would say that government has been impartial, but definitely the Muslim leaders have failed their own, the minority population in really taking them to the development path, and then really directing, rather many times they have been even counterproductive. Even this Shamika report, when it came out, one leader said that, who is this person? Who is Shamika Ravi or something like that? that is not at all the way to deal with this report. You should also be concerned with population. I mean, after all, if there's a total income of the family, if there's a more population, more members per family, their own per capita income also suffers, isn't it? I mean, that's why I really look at, even if you look at it in a very micro way. Okay. So this is something I'll be really forthright in saying that, the government has been impartial. Our government, this government has been even more pumping resources and like that. But the leadership has to take accountability for what's happening. Yeah.
Professor Ramesh, you mentioned
Incidentally, I wanted to make one point that, I like Annamalai. He always takes some myth and then blows it off. I would say that Shamika Rami has Annamalai'd the population myth, that our population shrinking or any of that stuff. Not at all. It's totally bombed. I mean, Annamalai. And then now again, this is the narrative. Nobody is going to buy the Contra now, isn't it? Like the point you said. So that's the point. The report also says, incidentally, if their atmosphere is not conducive, how could the minority population be growing? Isn't it?
Yes.
So definitely you cannot blame the ambience, you cannot blame the policies, you cannot blame the institutions. Okay, they have to blame themselves. Yeah.
Very true, sir. Sir, what in other words, what I think you and I are saying is we need more Arif Muhammad Khans and Abdul Kalams and less of Asaduddin Owaisi and Akbaruddin Owaisi. All A's, it's up to you guys. We have to decide. You will get what you choose. Unfortunately, this is the sad truth. And speaking of Shamika Ravi being questioned, who is she? Sir, I also had the dubious distinction of being quoted by what I had done rather than by name in Rajya Sabha, because that's where the 𝙒𝙬𝙤𝙀 line broke open about close to 8 years ago. And the leader of opposition at that time in Rajya Sabha was a congressman who has since moved on to greener pastures. But the man, you could see his face was red because they had managed to put a lid on this report, that judgment that had come in a appellate court in Italy, and they had taken it because it was an Italian. They thought they can get away by framing the whole thing on a retired Air Chief Marshal, when in fact the culprits were the top three. So the sad part is that was a black and white report that they managed to reverse even in Italy itself. You see what I'm saying? The judgment has been reversed in Italy itself. It's one of those travesties of justice, I guess. Whatever it is, sir. Let's get back to this thing. Now, let's take a quick look at the region by, if you look at countries like Bhutan or Sri Lanka. So if the majorities are growing there, what happened to the people? So one observation, sir. Bhutan has had a purge of Hindus. Let's not, this has been one of the most understated things. I did not know it up until 2018 when I met with some Bhutanese Hindus in a World Hindu Conference. That was the first time their voice was even heard, 2018. How this present king, the king has been there for a long time. After all, it's a satellite state. They were instrumental in driving Hindus out from Bhutan. And why, how they can do it under the nose of a great democracy like India and not get any blowback is something beyond me, sir. Same thing about Nepal. Nepal, they say that, it was the socialists in India that brought about the change from monarchy to a democracy. At what cost? Who has hijacked it today? So, and
Nepal
also,
is even worse. Nepal is even worse, actually.
Even
both
worse.
Political and religious. I mean,
And sir, in Sri Lanka, many people that I have known who have come abroad because they just had no future in Sri Lanka. If you look at it, sir, one of the reasons why the Buddhists have grown, in my opinion, is that the Sri Lankan Tamils have actually moved out of the country.
Heavy migration.
Significant percent has moved out of the country because they see no future there. Even today, it's still patchy. And I don't know when it's going to become more equitable for everybody who's a Sri Lankan to say, okay, I am proud of this country. Anyway, so let's get back to, let's conclude.
In fact, the report says that each country is unique, but then you can never compare what happened in Pakistan and Bangladesh to Hindus with any other countries.
Yes.
It's not comparable. At least since 1950. Maybe before 1942 war and war and all one can talk about 44 and all that before Second World War. post 1950, this sort of, I mean, fall I have never seen. Of course, OECD is happening now. Okay. But again, they welcome them. Okay. They will, I mean, Dildar, I mean, OECD countries are Dildar. They all said, welcome, welcome. Now the composition has changed. But in Pakistan, it's really targeted. It's targeted. Okay. And that's how it happened, isn't it? I mean,
Yes, indeed.
yeah,
Sir,
you're saying,
in conclusion, sir, maybe you 2 or 4 minutes, you can say, I mean, this is something that the entire world has to act on. This is not something that's India-centric alone. It tells you some of the glaring realities on the ground, which you conveniently ignore. Like, by you, I mean 𝗣𝚗, and in extension, all the congressmen, senators, even the White House, that tends to take these things out of context and try to take pot shots at India. Look at the reality. Look at the reality. Sir, I'll let you conclude and then we can wrap this one up.
So, Sree, the way to look at it is, I mean, what people will be worried tomorrow, okay, is one, if the electoral politics changes, okay, because what happened, if it also happens in concentrations, okay, like you talked about Hindu population spread out, but they cannot influence any constituency, let's say, okay, they are not significant impact any constituency, okay. But then if there's going to be concentration also, and if the share also is going to be increasing, minority share, it can affect the electoral politics. Okay, that is what people are really worried. Okay, now for electoral politics to shift, it's not necessary that majority has to come down below 50%. It's not like company. It's not dictated by Companies Act. Okay,
right.
It is dependent. It is dependent on who goes for voting that day. Okay, what is the total voting and what's the vote share and things like that. Okay, so this is something I mean, I read a lot. I mean, all the other countries also, people are really concerned, who are concerned about their country, respective countries and like that. So this report will be like an eye opener. Okay, and this again based on our independent study conducted by a professional, professor like that, isn't it? It's called RCS, Religious Characteristics of the State Study. Okay. So this is, it's not based on census, but it's really based on very professional study. Okay, sample surveys and like that. So one I would like to tell people is changing characteristics. Second thing people could be worried about is when the demography changes, even the other social structures can change. Like you talked about social fabric, isn't it? So people could worry about, the social fabric. See, one thing about Hindus, wherever they go, they try to assimilate themselves wherever they are. So they don't try to dominate, and they try to live within themselves, isn't it? I mean, they're really, and then you will find both Democrats also, Republicans also within Hindus. It never happens that en masse they will vote for Democrat or en masse they will vote for Republicans or like that. So this is again another aspect of the socio-political aspect of changing demographies and like that. But the third point I would say is that countries have to stay focused on economic aspects of what's happening actually. Okay, because for example, in India, I'm doing another study on population. For example, you take the urban cities. I'm looking at, is there anything like a carrying capacity of a city? Okay.
Yes.
But like that, it's all bursting, isn't it? So initially they said all population is welcome, but now they are realizing that. See, look at how much we have to argue for H1B. That's hardly in thousands. Okay.
Right.
And for that, so much negotiations and arguments goes on for H1B. But here you have, population really increasing in the share, population share, isn't it? Making significant alteration to the share, not increasing in the share, making significant alteration to the share. So there is a socio-political effect, plus the economic impact of overall people. The local people will start feeling, and then they would look at their own economic opportunities, and it will first start hitting when the job opportunities keep coming down and like that. So the countries have to take conscious policies about that. And for the Indian, I would appeal again to the the Muslim leaders and minority leaders. In fact, Christianity has done very well. It has increased only marginally, and probably thanks to very responsible missions and then responsible some leadership like that. But I think the Muslim leadership has, the people should ask the Muslim leadership, what have you done for us? Okay. And I would say these are the things that I'm really trying to build a narrative around these points. and I'm trying to build more evidences. One important point I want to make, which will be the future pattern of discussion, is, in fact, I think Krishnamurthy has spoken, Chief Economic Advisor has spoken about that. Increasingly, it will all be data driven. No, these are all undisputable fact, isn't it? So when facts face you, then you are really speechless. Then only you can ask, who is Sree, who is Shamika, and things like that. But you really don't ask, what is it, how can I go by this, or, what's a I mean, they should at least have, what is the methodology, who is the author, nothing like that, who are you? That's all. That's the argument, counter argument, So that's a compliment, in fact, which means they don't have any argument.
That's true. Thank you so much, Professor Ramesh. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. This is just the beginning of what I think is introspection that is needed for the entire world. And I'm hoping that more such conversations take place and you look at the data, let the data tell you where the truth is. Thank you once again, sir. Namaskar.
Thank you. Yeah.